All right, we're going to go on with waves and tides. Today we're going to focus on tides. Why don't we start out by writing this down? Tides, caused by gravitational force of the sun and moon on the earth. So the sun and moon pulling on ocean water is going to cause a tide. Go ahead and write this down. Most places have 2 high tides and 2 low tides each day. Most places have 2 high tides and 2 low tides each day. So every 6 hours, 24-hour day, every 6 hours it's going to change. I won't worry about that. So here's the Earth. Here's the rock part of the Earth, okay? And most of the Earth's surface is covered by water. Well, the moon here has gravity. Gravity acts on the Earth, and that gravity is going to pull on the water, okay? So it's going to bulge where the moon is, and where the moon is not, it's going to pull flat. So here would be high tide, low tide, low tide. Okay? As the Earth spins, the moon is going to continue pulling, okay? But it's going to flip. So where in 6 hours, this part will be low tide and this part will be high tide. I want you to write down this. There are 2 types of tides. Spring tide is the first one. This is when the sun, moon, and earth are all aligned. Just write the top bullet. Spring tide is where the sun, moon, and earth are aligned. I would put this bullet also. High tides are going to be their highest that they'll ever be, and low tides will be as low as they will ever be. High tides will be super high, low tides will be super low. So, right here, well, there's 2 moons here, but when we're lined up like this is spring tide, okay? Let's say the moon is here, the earth, the sun, okay? The sun is pulling here, the moon is pulling here. It's kind of like tug of war, and the water is going to bulge big time, okay? Even if the moon is here, so this one's gone, the moon is here, and it's all lined up, it's going to really bulge it here and here, okay? On the sides, it's going to be super low. Neap tides are the opposite. This is where the sun, moon, and earth form a 90-degree angle. Just write the top bullet. So in a neap tide, the sun, moon, and earth are going to form a 90-degree angle. I would write this. High tides are low, or their lowest they'll be, and low tides are the highest they'll be. High tides are the lowest they'll be, and low tides are the highest that they'll be. Let's see here. So if we go back, this will be a neap tide. Let's pretend this one doesn't exist here. Okay? So we have the sun, we have the earth, we have the moon. Now the sun is pulling here. Okay? The moon is pulling here. So as you can see, it's going to, instead of pulling with each other, they're kind of pulling against each other. So this will be a low tide right here, and it's still bulging a little bit because of the sun's gravity. Okay, the moon is pulling here. Okay, this is going to be high tide. And you notice there's not a ton of difference between the two. Okay, that is neap tide. So If you can follow this, it goes from spring to neap tide as the moon goes around. Okay, this would be during high tide, be during low tide. This would be low tide also. I thought this was kind of cool. You don't need to write anything, but there's a place close to the Canada U.S. border in Nova Scotia called the Bay of Fundy, which has the highest tides possible and on Earth. And what they're doing is they basically use it for hydroelectric power. So they have turbines there, and when the tide comes in, they turn the turbines, and when it goes out, it turns the turbines and creates electricity. So that'll do it.